A workplace health and safety meeting will next week canvass a potential ban on importing engineered stone. It's part of a federal government commitment to address the threat of silica dust from manufactured kitchen bench tops for tradies working with the material. Joining me live is ACTU Assistant Secretary Liam O'Brien. Thanks very much for your time. We have had a response so far from the PM who said this is an urgent matter, but he doesn't want to make any changes with unintended consequences. What have you made of that response?
Well, look, he's right. This is an urgent matter. What we've seen revealed over the last few days, but indeed emerging over the last few years, has been a horrible situation for workers, not just in the engineered stone sector, across all industries, but specifically in engineered stone. We're seeing as many as 1 in 4 workers screened being diagnosed with silicosis, which is an incurable, debilitating, and unfortunately really sometimes fatal disease for those workers.
So he has said, though, that allusion to unintended consequences. We know at the moment it's very difficult to get a house built in Australia, a lot of delays. There is a way to work with this material safely. Is that the emphasis here, that we can just do this a lot better and it's within our capability? Because, I mean, unlike asbestos, it doesn't sit in homes as a danger. It's when it's being cut down that the danger is happening.
Well, let's talk a bit about the unintended consequences. The reality is right now, if we continue on this path of importing this very deadly product, we will see thousands. In fact, we've got reports now indicating as many as 100,000 workers across all sectors will be diagnosed with silicosis. This is urgent and we need to act. We know that there are safe alternatives. We shouldn't for a moment suggest that suddenly restricting these really high silica products, and as much as 95% silica in these products, is in some ways going to disrupt the market. There are plenty of alternatives. There are plenty of other countries that don't seem to be as addicted to this very deadly stone. We can work our way through this. We think it is important that the federal government obviously consult with unions and other stakeholders in the sector to make sure that we can do this sensibly. But we need to phase out this deadly product because there are safe alternatives that many other countries use, and it's really Australia's got this fascination with this product that we need to get off.
What did you make then of that line from the PM, unintended consequences? What did you take that to mean?
Well, look, I think what we all want to see is an orderly transition, and the quicker we start planning for that, the better. The reality is that we can use alternative products. There are both, other benchtop materials, timber, natural stone, other laminated products. But indeed, we've also seen lower silica content engineered stone products being used in this country. We need to investigate the health effects of those. We don't know what the health effects of those are going to be, but we need to move quickly because the reality is that 1 in 4 workers being diagnosed with silicosis is not acceptable. And that is not an unintended consequence. That will be the consequence if we continue down this path.
Right, but from what he said, what you're saying is what you believe that to be an orderly transition, is that it can't just be banned overnight, but you'd like it phased out and in the interim improve standards around working with it?
But what we've seen over the last few years is initially we had a deadline in the middle of next year. What's clear, both from the reports that have been revealed in the last few days, but indeed some of the comments made by leaders around the country, is that we need to move quickly. Waiting till next year to start considering whether we're going to introduce a ban or not is not acceptable. We want to see governments move quickly. We want to see this ministerial meeting next week start to set out a fast timeline for us to consult on how we would go about doing that and to put some hard deadlines around when we're going to phase this deadly product out.
The other concern has been raised today is around tunnel workers. We've got the ACTU saying 500 in New South Wales exposed to unsafe levels of silica. As the sort of branch union, what can you tell us about what that figure is based on? Because, I mean, on the one hand, the stories are harrowing here, but it's a very high number. There could be some people very concerned. You don't want to unnecessarily alarm them. Is that a hard figure? Is that just based on individual interviews? Where do you get that from?
Well, look, in terms of the numbers that the ACTU put out there this morning, we support them. Let's talk about tunnelling and more broadly workers exposed to silica. What we see, whether we're here in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, we've got tunnelling projects all over the country. Cutting through Sydney sandstone, which is as much as 70-80% silica content, is very hazardous. What's been revealed by the ACTU and indeed over the weekend in other news reports is that dust is not being managed well in those tunnels. That on top of that, union officials are being denied entry to just take dust measurements. I mean, this is really shocking that employers would be denying the rights of workers to have their representatives there to actually independently validate dust levels. These are concerns, Tom, and we want to work with industry. I think all unions want to work with industry. We recognise that in some of these environments, like tunnelling, like quarrying, like construction and building trades more broadly, that you can't eliminate risks like we can with engineered stone, that dust is going to be a constant feature of those workplaces, but it means we've got to work together to reduce dust levels. Now, we think there should be stronger laws. I mean,
all right.
The reality is that clearly we need stronger laws here.
Liam O'Brien, we're going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.